Very good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you all are doing well, and welcome to week 7 of the semester. The semester seems to be flying away very, very fast. We have entered midway of week 7, and very soon, before you know it, we will be reaching the end of the semester. Now, just for few reminders and things that you are to do this week. Okay, so I'll quickly open up the to-do list. Just note that Moodle is a bit slow today compared just I think about an hour ago. It just dropped out just because a lot of students are hopping onto Moodle to attempt their mid-semester exams. The traffic is pretty high on Moodle, so eventually it will go a bit slower. But for your cases, okay, your mid-semester exam, it's been scheduled over 9 days time, so you have ample time to attempt. Now, just before we actually go into mid-semester exam, let's go and check out the to-do lists. Okay, so welcome to week 7. You are to complete all pending assessments. Now, pending assessments here, there are some of you who are yet to attempt your critic writing. Okay, and you are sticking, and I think what has happened is basically the cutoff dates are now being applied to you. That means after every day of late submission, you get 10% deduction from your assignment. Moreover, some of you are yet to attempt your lecture-based quizzes. So you have lecture-based quizzes all the way from week 1 to week 6. I think in week 3, you did not have a lecture-based quiz because we have only covered up 5 lectures so far. So 5 lecture-based quiz yet to be attempted. Now, here's the catch. If you are one of those who are still thinking to do it at the very end, now you are piling up work. Those who have attempted well before time and at the end of each and every week, congrats, you are on the good side. In terms, when I say good sides, because I have extracted some questions from your lecture-based quizzes towards your mid-semester exam. Okay, so few questions will be extracted from here and there. So you will be tested on it. So there's the advantage, and that's why I said congratulations for those of you who already submitted. Those you haven't, you still have time. Okay, you are to attend your revision class. Now, your lecture class this week will only be used for your revision class. Your tutorial class has been cancelled. So we will not have a class on Friday afternoon. Why? Because you may use that time for your mid-semester exam revision. So what we'll be doing in today's class, I will be calling out few questions. I will be dictating them, and questions from all the set of lectures. So we have 5 lectures, all the possible questions and all the possible things and all the possible learning outcomes that you should be able to meet from those 5 lectures. Okay, so I will be talking about them. And also, finally, you have to attempt your mid-semester exam, and you have to adhere to all instructions provided. So your mid-semester exam, now if you hop into week 7 section, the Moodle shell, okay, so if you would click here, it will open up your mid-semester exam. Or another thing you can do is you can quickly go to my assessment section of the Moodle shell, and your mid-semester exam is located right beneath the critic submission box. So your mid-semester exam has already opened up on the 5th of September. Okay, it opened up at 6 a.m. and the closing date. Now, initially, I had set the closing date to 12th of September, 11:59 p.m. Now, there was a message received on Monday. Let me quickly back to my email. There was a message by ICT department that the Moodle server maintenance procedure that is supposed to take place from the 10th to the 12th of September for full 48 hours. So during this time, what will happen is Moodle will work, but it would be slower. Okay, so bearing that into mind, what I did, I had extended the date to one more date, that is on the 13th of September. So those of you who want to submit, you can want to attempt rather, you can attempt your mid-semester exam either on Friday evening, or even on whole of Saturday daytime. Now 6 p.m. I think it's at 6 p.m. Yeah. So Saturday evening to Sunday evening, what will happen is that there's a likely chance there would be a Moodle outage. So in that time, you will not be able to attempt your mid-semester exam. So bearing that into mind, I've given you another additional day of 24 hours, whereby on the 13th of September, you can go around and start attempting your mid-semester exam. Now, the outline remains the same that I have been probably calling out for the past few classes. Your multiple choice, 20 marks, time allocation is 30 minutes. Your short answer questions is also worth 20 marks, time allocation is 40 minutes. And your case study carries 10 marks, and the time allocation is 20 minutes. So in total, you have 50 marks towards your mid-semester exam, which contributes 15% towards your coursework, and you're allocated 90 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes to actually go and attempt it. Well enough time. Now here's the thing, if you run short of time and if you are not able to submit your mid-semester exam by the 13th of September 11:59 p.m., you missed out to the 15%. Okay, I think I've given you more than ample time. I was just liaising with some of my colleagues today, and they have only given their students a day or two to attempt the mid-semester exam. Okay, I'm giving you a full 9 days to actually go and attempt it, which is more than enough. So if you later on was come on telling that you didn't get enough time, I'm sorry, I will not be accepting that excuse. All right, now you only have one attempt. You are provided 1.5 hours. Please ensure to time yourself well with each question. Now here's the thing, how I prepared the timing is this. Generally in your final exams, you get 100 marks worth of questions, and you are given 3 hours for doing a paper, additional 10 minutes for reading it. Over here, there's no reading time. You are given half of the time, 1 hour 30 minutes, since it's just 50 marks. And you are to prepare well before you go around attempting your mid-semester exam. Now, some of the study guidelines I would suggest is go by your lecture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go by your tutorial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus the case study questions. Okay. Now, moreover, I have taken in a bit of I've taken a bit of syllabus or a bit of questions on the way you have attempted your critic writing. Okay, so that's why it was important for you to attempt your critic writing. Okay, and thank you for those who have submitted. So bit of portions from there, you'll be tested in either of those questions, either in your multiple choice short answer or case studies. How it will be tested, you'll find out when you actually do the paper. Right, so revision, lecture notes, tutorial, lecture based quiz, and do study the questions that I will be giving it to you in class today. So without much delay, let's go and hop into it. So what I would suggest is get a pen and a paper ready. I would be calling out the questions, okay, and I will be repeating them 2 times. And based on that, what you do is as soon as you have done writing, probably after the class, you can start answering those questions and use them as revision guide. Another thing what you can do, this is what I used to do when I was a student. Now, generally, when I was a student, we were not given revision questions like what I am giving it to you right now. But what we used to do is, there were about 3 or 4 of us. We used to gather together and then summarize the lecture notes. Okay, see all the important points. So we will divide. So if there's a total of 6 lecture notes, so 3 or 4 of us would divide the lectures, and then we'll come up with just like a we'll come up like a revision notes or like a short notes, something like that, and then we'll make a summary of everything. So all that work was divided between 3 or 4 people, compile it up, and then you have a set of revision questions for the entire course. Now you can do the same. If there's 2 or 3 of you, let's say if I give you about 50 or 60 questions, you can divide it between yourselves. Ensure that you cross-check the questions as well. The answers are written correctly. If the answers are incorrect, then you wouldn't get marks if you write down incorrect answers in the exam, right? So please ensure that your answers are correct as well. Divide it up between 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, how many if you can get together, and then share up the work, and it will be easy for you to get that done. Or if you want to do it alone, do it alone. Because the thing is this, when you actually answer the question and write down the answers, you learn. All right. Now, without much delay, let's hop on to it. I hope you are able to hear me out very, very clearly. Okay, so first of all, we'll go over lecture 1. So you can write down lecture 1, and first question: describe information age. Question number 1: describe information age. Next question: differentiate between data, comma, information, comma, data, comma, information, comma, business intelligence, and knowledge. Business intelligence and knowledge. So the question reads as differentiate between data, information, business intelligence, and knowledge. Next question. Explain the terms Internet of Things. Explain the terms Internet of Things. Next question. Differentiate between machine-generated data and human-generated data. Differentiate between machine-generated data and human-generated data. Next question. Describe big data. Describe big data. Next question. State some advantages. State some advantages of departments working interdependently. State some advantages of departments working interdependently. If you feel I'm going too fast, do let me know. Next question. Explain MIS. Explain MIS. Next question. List and describe the various roles. List and describe the various roles and responsibilities. The various roles and responsibilities in MIS department. In a MIS department. List and describe the various roles and responsibility in a MIS department. So over here, the roles, the different types of roles, you have chief information officer, you have chief knowledge officer, chief privacy officer, chief security officer, chief technology officer, chief intellectual property officer, chief automation officer, chief user experience officer, and so forth. Learn at least one or two of those. Next question. Explain why competitive advantages are temporary. Explain why competitive advantages are temporary. Next question. Identify the 4 key areas of a SWOT analysis. Identify the 4 key areas of a SWOT analysis. SWOT, S-W-O-T, SWOT analysis. Question. Next question. Describe Porter's 5 forces model. Describe Porter's 5 forces model and explain each of the 5 forces. Describe Porter's 5 forces model and explain each of the 5 forces. Next question. Compare Porter's 3 generic strategies. Compare Porter's 3 generic strategies. Next question. Describe Porter's value chain analysis. Describe Porter's value chain analysis. Next question. What is business strategy? What is business strategy? And some of its common goals. What is business strategy and some of its common goals? Next question. Explain competitive advantage. Explain competitive advantage. These sums up your questions for lecture 1. Kamini, would you be able to put how many questions are there in total?
15.
Sorry, how many questions, Shivikesh?
15.
15, 1-5. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So 15 questions in total for lecture 1. Okay, now some of these questions have big answers. For example, the questions on Porter's 5 forces model, there are 5 forces that you need to explain all about. Buyer power, supplier power, threat of new entrants, and so forth. Okay, and then you have 3 genetic strategies. Okay, so those also are answers. Now try your best to understand all this, because generally when we discuss about Porter's theories, the theories are a set of concepts that is backed up with a lot of research. So generally, Porter's theories, they have a lot of information with it. So try your level best to learn it in the most simplified version possible. Okay, else it will become too difficult to know all those things. First of all, understand what they actually say. For example, we talk about buyer power, so understand what buyer power is. Talk about supplier power, understand what supplier power is. Try to remember them in simple terms. Okay, now I do understand that not all of us here, in fact I think none of us here are we have English as our native language. Like English is not our mother tongue. So what we can do is we can first of all convert those terms, or convert those definitions in our own language. Okay, so have it for example either in Ethiokai language or either in Hindi. Learn them in these languages first and then try to convert them into English, so it will become easy for you to understand the concepts. Okay, so 15 questions for lecture 1. Next up, lecture 2. First question for lecture 2. List and describe. List and describe the different types of decision making. List and describe the different types of decision making and decision makers in an organization. Different types of decision making and decision makers in an organization. So decision making is type of the decision makers, who makes the decisions. Next question. Compare critical success factors. Compare critical success factors and key performance indicators. Compare critical success factors and key performance indicators. Next question. Describe artificial intelligence. Describe artificial intelligence. Next question. List down the decision-making process. List down decision-making process. Generally in the process, there are 6 steps, or there are 6 steps of decision making. You have problem identification, you have data collection, solution generation rather, solution test, solution selection, and solution implementation. Just know the 6, and in simple terms, try to remember what these things mean. Next question. Define the term prototype. Define the term prototype. In brackets, you can also write down the word model. In next question, differentiate between TPS, T for tree. Okay, so TPS would stand for transaction processing system. TPS, DSS, this is decision support systems, and EIS, executive information systems. So the question reads as differentiate between TPS, DSS, and EIS. Define machine learning. That's your next question. Define machine learning. Define expert system. Next question. Define expert system. Next question. What is virtual reality? What is virtual reality? Next question. List down ways in which an organization gains competitive edge over others. Gains competitive edge over others. Others here would mean other businesses. Next question. What are business process models? What are business process models? Next question, differentiate between streamlining, comma, bottleneck, differentiate between streamlining, comma, bottleneck, and redundancy. Differentiate between streamlining, bottleneck, and redundancy. Next question, explain the term business process re-engineering or BPR. Explain the term business process re-engineering or BPR. And that finishes up your questions for lecture 2. Okay, Shivikesh, would you be able to quote how many questions are there?
13.
13. Okay, thank you. So 15 plus 13, that makes it 28 questions so far. Okay, next up is lecture 3. Explain e-businesses. Explain e-businesses. Next question. List down some advantages and disadvantages of e-businesses. List down the advantages and disadvantages of e-businesses. Next question. Compare the 4 e-business models. Business to business, business to consumers, consumer to business, and consumer to consumer. Okay. Compare the 4 e-business models. Next question. What are disruptive technologies? What are disruptive technologies? Next question, differentiate between the internet and the World Wide Web. Differentiate between the internet and the World Wide Web. Next question. What is a web browser? What is a web browser? Next question, list down reasons for the growth of the www. List down reasons for the growth of www. So www stands for World Wide Web. List down reasons for the growth of the www. Define the term e-commerce. Define the term e-commerce. Next question, define the following terms. Define the following terms. After that, give a colon. Define the following terms. After that, give a colon. Okay, so the first term is clickstream. 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 So that's your first term. Second term is banner ad. Banner ad. That's BANNERED. Banner ad. Next term is pop-up ad. P-O-P up ad. ID ad. By the way, ad would stand for, is a shortcut for advertisements. Okay, pop-up ad. Next term that you have is affiliate programs. Affiliate programs. After that is viral marketing. Okay, next question. Define search engine. Your next question is define search engine. Next question. List and explain 6 e-business tools. List and explain 6 e-business tools for connecting and communicating. List and explain 6 e-business tools for connecting and communicating. So what are those tools? You have emails, you have IM, instant messaging, you have podcasting, video conferencing, web conferencing, and content management systems. Next question. Explain Web 2.0. Explain Web 2.0 and some of its characteristics. Explain Web 2.0 and some of its characteristics. The characteristics, basically it's collaboration, sharing, okay, free use of resources and so forth. Next question. Differentiate between open source, closed source, and source code. Differentiate between open source, closed source, and source code. Next question. Explain collaboration systems. Explain collaboration systems. Next question. Differentiate between synchronous communication and synchronous communication with examples. Differentiate between asynchronous communication and synchronous communication with examples. By the way, the spelling asynchronization is ASYNCHRONOUS. Asynchronous communication, and synchronous, just remove the A from asynchronous, okay? Differentiate between asynchronous and synchronous communication with examples. Well, the difference is very clear. With asynchronous, data travels in one direction at a time. That means example is an email. Whereas synchronous, data travels and occurs at the same time. Example, instant messages or chat messages. So I've answered it for you. Next question, differentiate between blogs. Differentiate between blogs, comma, wikis, 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 and mashup, MASHUP rather, mashup. Differentiate between blogs, wikis, and mashup. And the last question is explain Web 3.0. Explain Web 3.0. Full stop. Sorry, can you add one more question here over there? Okay. After explain Web 3.0, can you put down one more question? Distinguish between Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. Distinguish between Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. And the entire purpose of your lecture 3 was those concepts. What things or what technology was in Web 1.0, what technology are in Web 2.0 and what technology is and will be in Web 3.0. Okay. And the good thing about these questions is if you keep it, you answer them, you can use it for your revision for final exams as well. Okay. So that finishes up your lecture 3. Sorry, Shavikesh, would you be able to quote how many questions are there in lecture 3?
18 questions.
18 questions altogether. So we had 28 from lecture 1 and lecture 2. So 28 plus 8 would give it 36, plus 10 would make it 46 questions in total. Okay, we have 2 more lecture slides to go over. Lecture 4 and lecture 5. Okay, first question for lecture 4. Differentiate between ethics and information ethics. Differentiate between ethics and information ethics. Next question. Define intellectual property. Next question. List down 3 common business issues. List down 3 common business issues related to information ethics. Business issues related to information ethics. Next question. Describe the 6 common policies. Describe the 6 common policies in relation to information management. In relation to information management. So in total, there are 6. You have ethical computer use policy, you have information privacy policy, you have acceptable use policy, email privacy policy, social media policy, and workplace monitoring policy. So you are to describe this. Now, can you put it down something like this? Define the following terms. Define the following terms and a colon. First term is spam, S-P-A-M, spam. After that, the next term is keylogger. Next term is hardware key logger. By the way, logger spelling is Logger. Next up is the term is cookie, COOKIE. Next term is adware, ADWARE, adware. Next term is spyware, spyware. And the final term is weblog. Weblog, it's one word, weblog. Next question. Describe hackers. Describe hackers and some common types of hackers. Describe hackers and some common types of hackers. So some of the common types of hackers that we generally have, we have black hat hackers, white hat hackers, cracker, cyber terrorists, hacktivists, and we have script bunnies. They're also called as script kiddies as well. Okay, so those are the different types of hackers. Next up, describe viruses and some common types of viruses. Describe viruses and some common types of viruses. So the common types of viruses that we generally have, we have worm, we have malware, adware, spyware, ransomware, and scareware. So these are the different types of viruses. There are other types as well in terms of we have Trojan horse, polymorphic viruses, DOS, DDoS, backdoor programs, and so forth. So learn at least about 3 or 4 different types of viruses. But it's good to know the all the different types. Why? Because these questions are easy targeted questions in multiple choice. Okay, so try your best to know about all these different types of viruses. You don't have to remember the long definitions for those. Just know what they actually do, what harm do they actually do the computer system. Once you know what kind of harm they do, you will directly know what the definition is. Next question. List and explain some security threats. List and explain some security threats to e-businesses. List and explain some security threats to e-businesses. Next question. What is identity theft? Next question. What are some prevention and resistance? What are some prevention and resistance? Resistance, RESISTANCE, resistance techniques. To fight against e-business threats. Techniques to fight against e-business threats. And the last question, explain intrusion detection systems. Explain intrusion, INTRUSION, intrusion detection systems. So that finishes up the questions from lecture 4. Okay, so previously we had a total of 46 questions. So how many questions there in total for lecture 4?
11.
11 questions. So 46 plus 1 will make it 47 plus 10, 57 questions so far. So large set of lecture notes rather, and I'm guessing in plus questions here as well. First question, explain MIS infrastructure. Explain MIS infrastructure. Next question, differentiate between backup and recovery plan, comma, differentiate between backup and recovery plan, comma, disaster recovery plan, disaster recovery plan, and business continuity plan. And business continuity plan. So the entire question, differentiate between backup and recovery plan, disaster recovery plan, and a business continuity plan. Next question. Differentiate between hot site, cold site, and warm site. Differentiate between hot site, site SITE, cold site, and warm site. So these three sites, they basically they come under backup and recovery plan. So it's a facility, different types of facilities. So each of the site has different services associated with it. Next question. List and explain some characteristics of, list and explain some characteristics of list and explain some characteristics of an agile management information system infrastructure. Characteristics of an agile, AGILE, agile MIS infrastructure? Is there anyone who remembers the characteristics of agile MIS infrastructure? You have accessibility, you have availability, maintainability, portability, reliability, scalability, and usability. So these are the different types of characteristics of agile management information infrastructure. Next question. Identify the environmental impacts. Identify the environmental impacts associated with IT and MIS. Environmental impacts associated with IT and MIS. Next question. List and explain some solutions. List and explain some solutions to e-waste. List and explain some solutions to e-waste. So the solutions are, there are about few solutions. You have grid computing, you have virtualization, you have data center, multi-tenancy, and so forth. So those are some normal solutions that we have associated with e-waste. And the last question, explain cloud computing. Explain cloud computing and some solutions, not solutions, and some services. Explain cloud computing and some services associated with it. Explain cloud computing and some services associated with it. All right, so this finishes up your lecture 5 revision questions as well. So how many questions there altogether for lecture 5?
7.
7 questions. Okay, so we had 57 questions altogether from lecture 1 to lecture 4. Another 7 makes it 64. Okay, so 64 questions in total for your revision guide. Now use these questions very well in terms of answer them first and start learning them. Now, what you'll notice is that some of these questions will be very similar and familiar to the questions that you have in your lecture-based quiz and also the questions that you have in your tutorials. All right, so make use of these questions very well and keep them with you, because come your final examination, okay, I will not be doing or I will not be giving out revision questions from lecture 1 to lecture 5. So in the next set of revision questions for final exam, you'll have lecture 6 till lecture 10. Okay, so ensure to keep them well. Okay, keep them as a revision guide for your mid-semester exam and also for future references as well. All right, so this was a short revision class for CIN708 with a total of 64 questions. Please do remember to go over your tutorial questions as well for your mid-semester exam revision, your lecture-based quiz, and also go over your lecture notes. If you're able to do so, you have a lot of time with you at the moment. Okay, your exam, your quiz closes on next week Monday 11:59 p.m. So if you are even able to dedicate an hour each from today till about Monday, you should be able to do well. All right, so if there's any questions or queries in regards to CIN708 or your mid-semester exam, please feel free to speak.
Sir, Shalini here.
Yes, Shalini.
Sir, I couldn't log in. So when will this recording be available on Moodle?
Sorry, come again, Shalini. I think your voice got cut.
Sir, I was late to class. I couldn't log in time.
Okay.
So my question is, by when will this recording be available on Moodle?
By 4 p.m. 4 p.m. it should be online.
Today?
Today, yes, today. By 4 p.m. it will be online.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, any other questions, anyone? Okay, if no questions, this is where we'll knock off the class for today. So all the very best for your revision. Do well, prepare yourself well for your mid-semester exam. And now I will see you in week 9. This is week 7. Next week is week 8. So next week is mid-semester break. After the break is week 9. So I'll see you all in week 9 now. All right. So thank you very much. Keep yourself well and safe. Goodbye.